But they've seen this kind of coming, so they actually went to market to raise $2 billion in capital, and it failed. As soon as news of that failure came out, there was a rush to the deposits in Silicon Valley Bank. And about 2 days later, Fed came in and took them in, and they had to backstop all the deposits. Otherwise, it would have created a big problem. Same thing with what was that, First Republic Bank? They also had assets around $100 billion. Under the old law, they would have qualified to be a bank important to the system, and same thing happened. The trouble was they did not do anything to manage that risk. We specifically told them in the report that you guys actually have a deposit risk. They were like, what? What do you mean deposit risk? That if your 90% of their deposits were not FDIC insured, which means you're at the whims of those people. If they're afraid, they may want to get their money back. 10% would do that. It's not that much of a problem. You can handle it. You have a lot of liquid assets. But a bank run typically doesn't happen in continuous steps. It happens in discrete. If you see that 10 billion is withdrawn, other people are going to panic. And they said, okay, we're good. We're earning a lot more money on long-term stuff than we're paying to our depositors. So we're good. And of course, they kind of, in the last 2 weeks or so of their life, they kind of saw this coming. About a year before Silicon Valley Bank went down, their stock was trading around $600 a share. Okay. And when right before the news of the takeover came out, they were around 250, 300 range. And about a week before the takeover, the CEO and CFO, among others, actually exercised their stock options, and that had an exercise price of 105, okay? Which means they bought the SVB stock at 105, sold it at market. In fact, they literally sold it because they have to file those. I looked at the filings of the SEC around 287. I even remember the number. And they made money. Of course, the stock is worthless now. Even after the Fed's news came out, it was about $30 for a while. The trouble is, these guys didn't think that these options should have been exercised when the stock was 600. I mean, if you're not exercising at 600, you probably shouldn't exercise at 300 or 250. Of course, they knew it was coming. And to this day, nothing is done to these people. What are you going to do? I'm also really angry to these people because we were about to get a new consulting project to be signed, and these guys were paying me $250 an hour. And over a year, I probably would have built at least 200 hours, at least, if not more. But what are you going to do? I still made some money from them, but not as much as I thought I could. So you need to do something about that risk. Oh. Now, but I kind of need a measure of that, all right? Another thing about for any given bond, the lower is the coupon rate, the higher is the interest rate risk. I mean, let's look at it. Let's just take the 10 years. Let's do at 2.5 first. Okay. So going to 3.5, we already know that it's gonna lose you about 8.5%. How about This was a zero coupon bond. Okay. At 2.5, it's about 1700s, 7800s. At 3.5, it's 7000s. So if you calculated your loss in percentage, that's about 9.4%. So generally speaking, the lower is the coupon, the higher is the interest rate risk. So can you do something about it? The answer is yes, you can manage it. But before we can kind of start thinking about how to manage it, we kind of need a summary measure of such a risk. For this purpose, I'm going to do very little calculus just to give you the idea. Let's start with not that one. Okay. And that matures in T years. And compounding frequency is F. Yeah, if it's semi-annual, that would be 2, monthly, 12, so on and so forth. Value of such a bond is equal to face value divided by 1 plus R over F raised to the power T times F. All right? Suppose I wanted to calculate approximately percentage change in value as a result of a change in R. Here, R is the yield to maturity. It's in APR form. Here's what I want. I want change in or percentage change in value divided by something like change in R. Okay. For small enough changes in R, this is equal to change in log of the value divided by change in R. Delta R is really small. Calculus is about making delta R is smaller than any other positive number. So using differentiation rules, I can calculate this ratio. First of all, log of the value, log of face minus log of that whole amount using the rules of log. This is log of face minus T times F times log of